Hi there, welcome back to my channel. This is Natasha here with a New Dawn Recovery Coaching. I am an addiction recovery coach, a life coach, a certified hypnotherapist, and I'm also a narcissistic abuse victims coach and advocate. To learn more about me and what I do and to book one-on-one with me, because I am a private coach as well, please visit my website. It's www.newdawnrecoverycoaching.org. Also, if you are local to the Los Angeles area, I invite you to join me every Sunday for in-person meetings. I will post all the pertinent information in the box below to join my meetup group and attend my meetings. One week, it's addiction recovery, and the following week, narcissistic abuse, for narcissistic abuse victims. So please, if you are in my area, come and participate, join my group. We're starting to build a really nice community, so it's great. So today's topic is I was the victim of narcissistic abuse. So I'm starting today with my narcissistic abuse videos, and I wanted to talk about that. I do coach narcissistic abuse victims, and that is because I was the victim of narcissistic abuse. My ex-husband has narcissistic personality disorder, and it affected me in a big way. I have conquered it today, but it was quite an experience. Unfortunately, I have a 21-year-old child who still lives with the abuser today and who is starting to show traits of narcissistic tendencies. So I wouldn't say that he has NPD. I wouldn't go as far as saying that, because there is a difference between being narcissistic and having NPD. In my opinion, there is a big difference. I believe that we all have narcissistic traits in the sense that we're all self-centered and egocentrical, and put ourselves first. I think we all have the tendency to do that, but when it crosses the line is when it becomes a pathology, which I would call NPD. That is when we need to start worrying. So my story basically goes back over 20 years ago. I met this man who was perfectly normal in the beginning, and we started dating, and we had a very volatile marriage because we were both at the time using drugs and alcohol. I was using a lot of alcohol, not really drugs anymore, but he was using both. He was doing both drugs and alcohol. So it was a volatile marriage. We had a child called Bruce, who I adore. And when Bruce was 5 years old, because the marriage was so volatile and we couldn't save the marriage, we went our separate ways. And that is when the abuse really started. There was a little bit of abuse during the marriage, but nothing like what happened when we separated and after our divorce, which was back in 2008. So it was a long time ago. So during the marriage, we would fight a lot, yell at each other. There have been some punches thrown at some point. But when the marriage was over, I started seeing a different side of him. He just made a complete 180. He was not the same anymore. He became extremely verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, constant put downs. It was a very, very ugly divorce. I tried to protect my son as much as I could. I could see what his dad was capable of. We really, it was just a very, very, very bad time in my life. We really tore each other apart, and my son was in the middle. And now I realize my son was on the receiving end of all this, and I feel bad. Although it was hard for me because I was a single parent. He was 5 at the time. I was trying to protect him, take care of him, take care of myself. Working full time, it was a lot. And on top of that, fighting with his dad. And I was still using alcohol at the time. So being abused emotionally as much as I have been caused my alcohol use to increase considerably. It did get bad to the point that I considered suicide at some point because the abuser, I'm just going to call him the abuser. I don't even want to use his name or call him the father of my child because I'm ashamed of that. I'm actually ashamed that my son has such a father. He deserves so much better. Yeah, he basically caused me with all this abuse to hate myself. My self-esteem was completely gone out the window, and I just wanted to end it. And the only reason why I didn't is because I had this beautiful child that I adore. So I held on. I spent years just in and out of court. The court system is awful when it comes to narcissistic abuse. I can delve more into it in another video, but the court system does not understand NPD. The judges don't care. They don't want to hear it. They don't listen to you when you try to show the abuse because there's no physical abuse. So with courts, they need evidence. So it's very difficult to go to court and say, my ex-husband has NPD, he's emotionally abusing me, and he's abusing my child. It's very hard to prove if you don't have physical violence involved. So I got nowhere with the courts. And actually, one of the judges, more recently, towards the end, was completely biased. My abuser actually managed to completely wrap the judge around his little finger, and the judge was a totally biased judge. So I got nowhere with that. I was trying to seek full custody. I was trying to get my son away from his dad because I could just see the extent of the abuse. I could see my son, who was so young, being manipulated, being brainwashed by his dad. And I was desperately trying to avoid damage, psychological damage to my son. And unfortunately, I could not save him. My worst nightmare actually ended up happening because now my son today, who's 21, is still living with the abuser and is showing traits of narcissistic personality disorder. And I have had, because my son was abusive towards me, I've recently had to cut all ties with him and go no contact, which was extremely hard to do, but I had to do it as a self-preservation. I just had to, because today I love myself enough and I have enough self-respect to never let anybody abuse me ever again. That includes my ex-husband, my own child, anybody at work, anyone, a stranger out there in the world. Nobody will ever abuse me ever again. Verbally, physically, I absolutely stand very tall and take a stand on that. So I have had to do that a few months ago, and it's devastating. I don't wish that on anyone. I love my child so much, and I think about him every day. I wish him all the best. This is something he has to work through. I can't help him, you know. But anyway, I will delve a lot more into narcissistic abuse. I'm going to make more videos. But this is in a nutshell, a little bit of my backstory. So I endured the abuse for, I want to say, at least 10 years. And the only way it ended was by going no contact with the abuser, which didn't happen right away, because obviously when you have a child, you have to constantly be in communication with the abuser because there's visitation and things like that. And we were sharing custody. So we had to communicate somehow. But at some point it was so bad that as a self-preservation action, I had to just completely sever ties and go gray rock, no contact. So for those who are familiar with NPD, you'll know what that means, gray rock. No reaction to anything that the abuser says, and you just stop all contact, meaning you block their phone, no emails, nothing anymore. So, and that is only when I took the steps to do that the abuse stopped. Otherwise, it would still be going on today, because everything that came out of his mouth was an insult, an obscene words, and I just couldn't say yes to that anymore. I chose to just say no, and I chose to protect myself. And I'm doing the same with my child now. And so, yes, I am a proud narcissistic abuse survivor. I am very familiar with what NPD is. I have lots of tools to help my clients, which is why I coach them today. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible disorder, NPD. And unfortunately, there is nothing you can do to help the abuser, because the abuser will never admit that he or she has a problem. So you can't help someone who doesn't recognize that they have a problem. They will never change. The only thing that you can change when you are being abused by someone with narcissistic personality disorder is run. Get out of the relationship, or, you know, if it's a family member, just go no contact, run, leave as soon as you can. And sometimes it's very hard, especially when you're dependent on the abuser financially, such as myself. It can take years, but the only thing you can do is get away from them and start working on yourself, because there is a reason why you are putting yourself in that situation and you're letting somebody abuse you. There's always a backstory. Okay, and I will delve more into that later, pertaining to my story and why I have been in a pattern of abusive relationships, not anymore, but throughout my younger life. There is a reason why. And like I said, we all have our past and we all have our skeletons in the closet. And all you can do once you're out of that relationship, is start working on yourself and healing and finding out why you are putting yourself in a situation where you're letting other people abuse you. So you need to do some internal work on yourself. And that is how I help. That is where I come in and help my clients do that. Do the internal work. That's how you heal. And that's what I did for myself. And now I can teach it and show it to others. All right, I think we're going to conclude here today. There'll be more narcissistic videos to come very soon. So please stay tuned. Once again, please, if you like this video, please support me and subscribe to the channel, and also give this video a like and share it. please, it would be very much appreciated. Once again, my website is www.anewdawnrecoverycoaching.org. If you're interested in working one-on-one with me and doing some private coaching, please contact me through my website. And until next time, I wish you all to be well. Happy New Year, everyone. And I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.